The What's Neat This Week video podcast is supported by enthusiastic model railroaders just like you. Additional support is provided by Athearn Trains. Check out all their new monthly announcements at athearn.com. Further support is provided by Microengineering, keeping you on track with quality products for 55 years. Check out their website at www.microengineering.com. Order from your local dealer or order direct by calling 1-800-462-6975.
Additional support for What's Neat This Week is brought to you by SoundTraxx, industry leaders in model railroad sound and technology for over 30 years. Now please visit our website at SoundTraxx.com, and at checkout, be sure to use the promo code WNTW15 for 15% off of your purchases. And while you're there, be sure to check out our YouTube channel and other information that we have on our website to help you get more familiar with Model Railroader Reader's Choice Award winner 2 times for Favorite Sound Decoder.
Further support is provided by the NCE Corporation, the power of DCC. Visit their website at ncedcc.com. And thank you for supporting the What's Neat This Week podcast. This is the What's Neat This Week show number 136 for November 14th, 2020. I'm your host, Ken Patterson, the host of the What's Neat show over at Model Railroad Hobbyist Magazine, that video that we all love to watch. And tonight we're going to have a good show because I got some great people on the stage here with me tonight. First of all, over here I've got Raymond Brown, all the way from Erie, Pennsylvania. Hi, Raymond.
Hi, great to be here.
Welcome to the show. Also tonight, I've got Austin Allard way over here on the end. Hey, Austin.
Good to be here. Thank you.
And, of course, I've got our favorite Campbell Rice sitting next to me here.
What's up, everybody?
Hey, Campbell. We've got Daniel Coombs once again running camera for us because you do such a great job. Thank you, Daniel, for what you do for us. And out in Skype land out there, I've got George Bogatiuk in Durango, Colorado.
Are we ready to start this? Hang on, let's get going here. Guys, everything look good? We got the best hobby in the world. Let's get started.
Yes, that's pretty much how tonight went.
Yep.
We are now on our 4th take, and the stopwatch is running, and rock and roll. We're going to have a good show. Now, I'm going to start out by saying the weather's been absolutely crazy here, and usually I tell you it's a beautiful sunny day, and I show you the river and this and that, and it's all great. But this week, when Austin Allard called me on the phone, it was going from 78 degrees to like 38 degrees in a couple of hours, and this front blew through and literally kicked up the sand on the river on both sides of the river, something that I'm just not used to seeing around here. No, the trains weren't blowing over on the tracks over there, but, you know, it was absolutely crazy and chaotic around here. So no photo shoot going on that day. And then the next day, I was able to go outside and shoot some models. And I want to share something really neat. Blaine Hatfield finally has come out with his production run of these Greenville railgun gondolas. And these are pretty amazing models. These models are made of 199 individual parts.
Wow.
I mean,
Incredible.
absolutely. Look at these photographs I shot of these
Amazing.
things.
It's absolutely amazing.
And these are absolutely numeric specific to the railroad. I held one of the cars up to the sky so you could see the holes in the side of it. And these holes are designed for tie downs. They're in fact called pipe sleeves, and they are what they use to attach the loads inside the gondolas. So hats off to Arrowhead Models and Blaine Hatfield for coming out with such an absolutely magnificent model. I would like to call it plastic brass, and it is in fact made of like 34 parts of it are brass, in fact. So a lot of engineering, thought, and design went into this, and that's pretty much what we're seeing nowadays.
It's amazing to me, all the details that so many of these companies are putting into these models these days. It just blows my mind.
Look what we saw with those tangent models that have recently come out. It seems like the bar keeps getting raised, and we're beyond the point of who's going to make the bar higher, because every time another model comes out, but yet they all come in at the same price point of around $55 a piece. So it's kind of, pretty amazing.
It is amazing.
Last week's show, nonetheless to say, was a lot of fun to produce. Denny Jelsma was great. He flew here from Jacksonville, Florida. And in fact, Daniel, look over here. He sent us some flowers. He sent Michelle and the whole podcast crew flowers, thanking us for such a good time.
I hate I wasn't going to be here to see Danny, but I was having to travel, so.
I know, and I bet you really like that GM&O jacket that he was showing off, right?
Yeah, my favorite.
I've been following him on Facebook for years. He's a class act.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
You know, he says Pennsylvania Railroad is his #1 seller, and he sent me an image this week of one of the Pennsylvania schemes that he does with that T1 locomotive front and center. And this is all stitched, and I believe he said there are 350,000 stitches on this one that he was sharing with us to look at tonight.
How long did it take to do that? Did he say?
Yes, he did say 14 hours to run that one.
Wow, jeez. Man. Just one coat, huh? Man.
So he also said one more additional thing, and by the way, we made a little 3.5-minute commercial for him, and it's running on Facebook. But he said that anybody who emails him or calls him to place an order for jackets, that if they say that they saw it on What's Neat, that they will get free shipping. So that'll save you about $12 or $13. You'll get free shipping from Denny Jelsma down there at jelsma.com.
You know, what I like about it is that you don't have to order a large quantity. I mean, he'll do one jacket if you want, and that's pretty good, because you know, a lot of these places you call, they don't want to do just one item. They want to do a whole bunch, and that's really what is nice for somebody.
That is so true. What is that sound I'm hearing in the background?
It's the steam engine from...
Oh, George, that's your sound in the background. I was wondering what that was. That was cool.
Isn't it?
Ray, you brought some really cool models here tonight. You want to describe some of your artistry that you do for the hobby? Because you're not really the type of person to buy something off the shelf. No. When you need it, you make it, don't you?
So I modeled the transition era Bessemer in Lake Erie, and that was a prototype that had a lot of odd equipment. So I have to make a lot of my own stuff. And what that leads me to do is I'm heavy into 3D printing. So this caboose is actually, the body is completely 3D printed, and the roof. I designed it around a Athearn blue box frame. So I just buy an Athearn blue box bay window caboose, and this prototype was a NE1 offset bay window, pretty odd design. I also have Tomar marker lights in the SoundTraxx sound car decoder in this one.
Did you print that yourself? Or did you have somebody do it?
No, I printed this
What do you have,
myself.
a resin printer? Or
Yeah, so I have a Photon S.
I need to get with you.
Yeah.
That is excellent. I who had no clue that was 3D printed.
I appreciate that. This is probably one of the pieces I have the most time in. I've made 5 of these, and you could get a model from Overland and Brass, but they're so rare. I just decided to print some for myself.
Wow, that is fantastic.
I also have this Mckeen Motor Car, and that was a resin cast body, but all you get's the body. So I 3D printed the underbody for this and just kind of made an air tank because it looked a little naked underneath there. And it's a Northwest Shoreline Stanton drive is what made it work. And also 3D printed a headlight holder to take a 1.5 millimeter headlight lens. The locomotive in the middle here, this is a Nickel Plate Products Brass 210-4. I'm working on my 5th one of these right now, and when I buy those, it's got the old open frame motors in it, and you want to upgrade. This has DCC sound, flickering firebox, the works in it, and I brought one here that's kind of in process. So you can see I 3D print things like a mount to put the motor in, because fabricating brass really isn't my strong suit, but I'm pretty handy with a 3D printer.
No, that is pretty amazing. You are really good with that 3D printer.
Yeah, you are.
So
that's fantastic.
I do have to admit that I worked for General Electric for about 5 years, and my job there was 3D printing research and development. So I've got a little bit of a leg up, but I enjoy it. It's a great tool in the hobby, and I think it's just going to get more and more prevalent. As you need something, just go make it.
That's amazing. So you bring your talent from your profession into the hobby, and we get results like this.
It's definitely a labor of love.
You could literally design pre-production models for manufacturers.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's what a lot of people are doing already, but if not, certainly that's where the hobby will go.
That's really cool. George Bogatiuk, what do you think about that? That's the models that he has brought here are just absolutely exquisite.
Oh, they're fantastic. And, you know, he kind of mentioned talking about 3D printing and stuff. I mean, we've kind of done some 3D printing with some of the Blackstone stuff that we've been looking for, trying to do. We've got some 3D printed parts for the K36 and K28 that we've done in-house. Unfortunately, as we all know, that project is kind of stalled as we look for a new manufacturer, but it is something that you're going to see a lot more people turning to in the future. So that's impressive. It's good work, and I applaud you for all the work you've done on that.
Thank you.
That's awesome, George. Hey, listen, I think you've got something new that you want to talk about, a new announcement, and I love it when we get exciting news on the show. That's the whole purpose of the show. Go ahead and shoot.
This is the first time we'll be able to talk about this today, Saturday. And it's actually sitting behind me. I'm going to actually blow the horn on this thing and let you listen to it and let you think and guess what it might be coming out of. No, it's not an HO model.
Okay.
If you look closely behind me, you'll see this little Inscale guy sitting right over there.
No way.
Wow.
So I'm going to take the camera off the tripod here for a second. I'm going to bring it over a little closer so you guys can see this. And I want to show you. This is our new introduction into the Inscale drop-in decoders. As you guys can see this over here.
How about that?
I am so impressed.
So we've got our Inscale drop-ins. This is called the KN1. It stands for Kato Inscale, and it's the first introduction into the Kato Inscale. And here's the actual decoder that you're going to see. And it's already pre-made and ready to drop in place. We're just announcing them this weekend. We're still working out some final cost details before we make an official price announcement, but we had it ready for Train Fest to come out this weekend. And we announced it this morning on the Train Fest live feed. And so we're bringing it to you guys here and your viewers as well. And so we're really excited about it. This will be our first step into Inscale drop-in. So we've had a lot of people over the years asking us for Inscale quality sound.
That's amazing.
And now we'll be able to offer the Model Railroaders Reader's Choice Award winner 2 times for favorite sound decoder, now in an Inscale drop-in format. So we're really excited about being able to offer these. And as you can see, they're really small. And the speaker you're hearing is actually going to be a new addition to our mini cube line. So stay tuned for announcements on that as we secure product and stock and so forth. But it's actually smaller than the 2 mini cube speakers that we offer. And I've been extremely impressed with this speaker. So
yeah, that's going to make Inscale boom. That is remarkable.
That speaker sounds amazing.
Yeah, it does.
So would that speaker work with HO models?
I'm sure it will. Think about that.
That's
for smaller HO scale applications.
Yeah. Like a 45-tonner?
How about a 440 in HO scale, George? Would that fit in one of those?
I imagine it would. And I mean, this thing is very, very small, so I don't know the exact dimensions. Otherwise, I'd share them with you. But we're super excited about the launch into Inscale drop-in. So that's the big thing. We're looking at these to be available, in the first few weeks of December. So be sure to check out your retailer and get your orders in to them. We'll have the part numbers. I'm sorry, I have the part numbers ready, and I'm just drawing a blank right this second, so I don't remember what it is off the top of my head. But the official price will be announced soon. Like I said, there was a couple of things that they're trying to work out with it, but it's going to be a complete installation kit. You're going to get the decoder, LEDs, speaker, some wire to wire to the speaker, and some Kapton tape for the installation on the inside of the model. So
that's great.
It'll be a complete installation package, and so we're waiting on a couple of costs to come back. But unfortunately, Train Fest weekend is here, so we wanted to get the word out since that was what our big announcement is going to be. Is it's the first step, so be sure, all you Inscale guys out there, be sure to check out and subscribe to our newsletter as we get further into the product line.
Okay, George.
Lionel says that Inscale is dying, but I think you're going to resurrect it with that right there.
I think so. And Raymond, you mentioned something on when you were talking about your motor car, and I just actually happen to have a Stanton Drive right here in front of me. And the reason I have this out is because you look right here, as any of you Mopac modelers would recognize, that's the SL1. that were cut down SW7s, SW9s, and this is a project I'm working on. And the reason it's relevant is because I installed a TSU 1100 for electric into the model, because there's no prime mover, and so there's no sound, but there's traction motors. And so with the electric sound, this gives a nice, interesting way to be able to add sound and also take advantage of the braking features that we have in our Tsunami 2. So that way I don't have to limit myself by coupling it to a Tsunami 2 equipped model.
How about that?
So,
Wow.
This project's not finished yet, but I was so excited I couldn't wait till it was done to show off the idea that we had about putting the electric decoder in your slugs. So, so anyway, that's why this was out. So I thought it was actually fitting that you mentioned it in your motor car. So,
Yes.
They're good little drives too. Very
oh,
smooth.
they're amazing. They're nice and quiet, and they pull down, and it opens up the whole body now for a lot of weight to be put inside the model now, so that you can get tractive efforts.
Have you got that drive in your hand right now, or is it sitting on the side? Yeah, hold that up in front of your camera. I want to see that one more time, because we didn't get a good look at it. That reminds me of the old Power Spud truck, isn't it? Similar to that.
Yeah, it's very similar. And I mean, you can see the track pickups and some stuff there on the bottom. Hopefully the camera's not
No,
flushing
that's
it out.
very
It's
cool.
not good.
Yeah.
Where do you
But,
get those, George? Where do people acquire those from?
I believe they're available for sale through Northwest Shortline.
Okay.
Where I got mine.
And I know they're in a little bit of a transition right now, but I know they're available. So from what I understand, you can order it from it, but I know they've had some transition stuff going on. So don't give up on them. They're still around.
That's really cool. All right, now Campbell Rice asked me to ask him, hey, Campbell, what do you got going on?
Well, I've been traveling this past week, and I had on my bucket list, I wanted to get down to Mississippi to Sumner and take pictures of the new Rock Island locomotives. So here I'm showing, I've got some B-roll here of these beautiful Rock Island engines, and paint was still fresh, and it still smelled great, and it was, it's good, really good to see these come back to life and everything. So I was able to do that, and with my work, I travel 16 states, so I always do a little rail fanning when I'm out, and I shot several trains, a big coal train and a few other things, and I kind of shot that in some drone VO with the coal train, because I'm going to try to figure out how to make some coal loads, and I need to try to figure out
How do you like to make coal loads? That's something I kind of want to talk about tonight.
I'm not sure. I really hadn't decided what I'm going to do. I've done some before,
Yeah.
where I put like 1-inch styrofoam in and then put the coal load, or actually what I've used is blasting, sandblasting gravel.
Medium.
Yeah, medium on it, and that works good because there's a little gloss and shine to it, but I'm open to suggestions.
Austin, what's your preferred method for coal loads?
Resin casting.
So the ones that you can buy off the shelf,
Yeah.
pretty much, and just drop them into
Yeah,
your...
I was able to pick up a bunch that were specific to the Walters RD4 cars that I have.
How about that? Ray, have you ever made coal loads? I guess you did this one in your steam engine. What do you generally like to use for coal?
Yeah, so no surprise, I actually 3D print mine.
Is that right?
Of course.
I kind of copy the AccuRail concept of just a drop-in top, and then I'll paint the top of it with 50/50 water and PVA and sprinkle on like a Woodland Scenics coal. So everyone's a little bit unique, even though they're just 3D printed. And I just dimension them to fit whatever cars I'm working on.
And then do you paint them black, or do you put some, what do you use on top? Do you actually drop coal on top, or
Yeah.
how do you do that?
So I've typically used like just the Woodland Scenics or whatever, but I want to experiment using real coal. I've never done that, but I want to do it. I've seen other guys do it.
When I was out rail fanning a couple of weeks ago, I actually found some very fine ground up coal. And for whatever reason, this was actually really, I thought this had modeling application. So I took what I had scraped up from trackside and I ran it through some screens until I had it all to the same dimension, which was, I want to guess, maybe 3-inch to 2-inch sizes in scale. And I had my daughter helping me on this project. I had these old ore ginnies, and these are ore cars. They shouldn't even be coal cars, but I wanted to put coal in them anyway because I'm totally freelancing this model train. And so what we did was we took the existing plastic loads that were in them, and we sprayed them black with some paint. And then I sprayed them with this, what is it, the 3M glue that comes out of those
spray glue.
cans? Yeah. And we started doing them one at a time, and I had Anna helping me, and we simply sprayed it with glue and dipped it inside the little pan of ground up coal. And that kind of worked out great, but I had 47 of these to do. And I wanted to get it done. I just kind of wanted it not to drag on for hours. So what I ended up doing was I lined up all the coal loads onto the wooden plywood wooden tabletop I've got over there all together as a bunch. So it looked like a barge load at this point. And then I took that 3M glue and I sprayed all the loads at one time and dumped the coal right out of the container and packed it on top of all of these loads. And it worked out really well because after it dried, which that glue dries in literally 10 minutes, I pulled them all apart. And as I pulled them apart, they all simply, they were just perfect to drop into the cars. And what I ended up with is a very believable looking, simple, fast coal load for the entire 47 car train. And I love the way coal glistens in light. When I pointed these halogen lights at the layout and I was running that train past the camera, it just looks like, I wouldn't say diamonds, but it's got a characteristic.
Capture the light though.
Right. It was a happy moment to see how great that model came out. There's so many different ways to make coal loads, as all three of us had different ways to approach it. Go ahead, George.
Hey, I've got a little one here. Actually, you were talking about this. Of course, here in Durango, we live in steam country. And we get to see those nasty old steam engines running through town normally on a daily basis. And one of the things that comes back to observation, you kind of talked about coal load and the glistening. So this is a tender that I have from a Missouri Pacific locomotive that I had. And you can kind of see I just did essentially the same thing. I took some gloss medium and dusted it over their existing coal load, and then dusted on some, I believe it was Arizona Rock and Minerals, their coal. But the thing I wanted to point out here is it's not always clean. And so right here on the deck, you can see that there's some coal over.
Yeah.
And if you look closely here, you'll see that there's even some water spillover on the end of the tender.
That looks great.
Nice, yeah.
That's awesome.
So it gives it that used look. And you're right, that glisten of the real coal load really does help bring it to life. So I was actually really glad that I was able to do that. And again, it just comes from observing what you see around and just recreating that in your environment.
That's awesome, George. I love it when you're on. Now, show us the real eye candy. You were out in the beautiful Colorado wilderness where all the golden scenery, the fall colors. Tell us about the steam footage that you captured and that we're going to show on the show.
So this summer, the Durango and Silverton was running out of Rockwood, which was the first depot north of town, which really is about a 45-minute to an hour ride from the train. And they were doing it partially because of the whole social distancing and everything. But what they found was they could do shorter trips. So they were running from Rockwood to Cascade Canyon and back, and they could do that in 2 hours. And they could do 3 of those a day and turn it into a shorter trip for everybody. And so what this footage you're seeing now is the end of the season, basically. It's the last train of the year. They usually stop running up there in October, but this time they did this up until last weekend. And so this is the ride of the restored 493 K37 class coming home with the cars in tow. And so I decided to chase it on its final trip back home because they would bring it home over the weekend and then take it out. So it's actually really fun to see and watch those steam engines. And like I said, there's a lot you can learn by even just hanging around there, and it's amazing how much work that goes on in a steam engine yard facility, the railroad crews and things like that. And that's kind of some of what gave me the idea to use those little movable figures too.
How about that?
Is the people of railroading. So again, observation and then taking it home and making a model of it.
That's absolutely beautiful. The clouds were gorgeous in that footage. We watched it earlier tonight. Daniel and I were reviewing that footage, and we really appreciate you letting us run this. It's my
absolutely.
favorite narrow gauge country out there in beautiful Colorado. Hey, Daniel, do me a favor, kick that door closed, because in the background we're hearing a bunch of diesel locomotives, and that aren't trains, that's a barge on the river, and it's kind of loud.
That's on my bucket list. If this COVID will ever go away, I'm coming out to Durango because I want to spend some time out there on it.
Well, we'll definitely show you a good time around.
Fantastic. You can count on it.
Now, I've got some eye candy I want to show off to you guys. I was out doing a photo shoot actually it was a few months back, where I shot this Athearn locomotive on a bridge. And this is a Central Valley double track bridge that I set up for a morning sunrise shoot. And I took my 4x8 sheet of body of water, and I placed it adjacent to the bridge, and I lined it up so that it blended with the river, the real Mississippi River in my backyard, so that it appears like you just simply see the train, the bridge, the water, and then the bank in Illinois recreates the final effect of the earth in the distance on the other side of the lake or the river. And this is the 1943, that's the Spirit of the Union Pacific locomotive. And I also, just to make everybody happy, shot this in snow, just to do a snow shot with wire trees. Of course, I use plaster for snow. And it's just fun to do different type of photography like that. In an upcoming What's Neat, James Regier shows us how he shot some of his nighttime photography again. We took another bridge outside. And so it's kind of fun to talk about photos and how some of these photos are created. One last photo of 1943 that I did here was using the desert scene. And this, of course, would be a Union Pacific, like a railfan excursion type trip where they attached, or a business train actually, where they attached the 1943 to the front. And this is an Athearn engine. And Jim Wiggins over there at Athearn wanted me to mention that Athearn is going to have a sale on this model, this 1943 model, starting around Thanksgiving and lasting through the end of the month. Check their website for the sale price and all the details on this. And this sale also will pass through the hobby shops. The hobby shops will be honored in this sale. And they're going to, of course, Athearn's got that all prearranged with the hobby shops out there. One of our friends, Tim Runnels from out in California, sent us a prototype run-by video of 1943 pulling a business train. And I want to show you that run-by very quickly. It doesn't last very long at all. And then I did shoot 1943 running in my backyard on one of the desert scenes where I stack up the scenery, and I recreated this shot of it running in consist out in the desert, and it was kind of just fun to work with that model. This model comes in a very special box. It's kind of a collector's edition box that comes with the model, and I videotaped that box as well just to show you the complete package of 1943. So that's kind of cool, and that is just about the last thing on my list that I wanted to talk about that. We covered coal loads. What would you like to talk about, Austin Allard?
Well, now that I have Raymond here, back to the 3D printing.
He is.
We are working on a couple projects. One is to 3D print a windmill blade train to scale, which you guys have seen those before. And since I'm modeling the Transcon now, they run a protein train with coal cars, but instead of using just putting the protein in the actual car, they have a topper for it. So we're going to 3D print those as well.
How about that?
Yeah, I'm waiting to get some good pictures from Austin, and he's got a few different manufacturers of cars, so we've got to take dimensions on all those different cars because they're probably just a little bit different, so we can get them all to fit just right.
That's neat.
So 3D printing has replaced scratch building, hasn't it?
I wouldn't like to say replaced. It's another tool in the box.
Another tool in the box.
It's becoming more and more popular. So many people are 3D printing stuff. I'm even watching what Luke Towan's been doing with his 3D printer is amazing.
Luke Towan is amazing.
Yeah.
That guy does amazing work. His videos are amazing.
Yes. Yep.
You know, you have to see more Athearn stuff in front of you. And Jim Wiggins was going to come here tonight. I think we're going to have him on next week instead. He was going to show us the brand new Athearn Sd70acu locomotives. I remember he was talking about that because Canadian Pacific made those in their military paint schemes. I believe they did the one that was called Navy, which is in the ship gray oxide and red paint scheme. They've also got the desert sand paint scheme, which is the Army paint scheme that they had done. And they've also done the regular Canadian Pacific paint scheme on the Sd70acu diesel locomotives. And how about those cabooses? I'd like to get one of those Burlington cabooses to go with my Chinese red U-boats over there. They're creating this HO Scale Icc Caboose. I'm showing you the screen capture right now, the PDF on that. And they're doing that in Burlington Northern, Colorado Southern, Fort Worth, and Denver, and of course, the way I just call it, CB&Q. And in fact, George, these have got your sound in them, don't they? These have got your sound card decoders in them?
Yes, they'll have our full sound car decoders with extra lighting and so forth for the model. So however, this will come with light and sound ready to consist and add into your Tsunami train.
That's awesome, dude. I love that sound card decoder, and I'll tell you why. If you guys are running a train on your layout and say it's 40 or 50 cars long, or even just 25 cars long, if you work a sound car, decoder car equipped into about every 10 cars, as that whole consist runs by, you get the flange squeal effect. I mean, you get the clickety-clack effect. You've got the sound of the actual train coming out of the train. which is really, it's really actually dynamite. And when you've got it in multiple cars running past you at the same time, you're getting that stereo effect where you're surrounded by the sound. It's amazing. I got to tell you what, it's a very cool concept. And this is new. That's just within the last couple of years that you guys have come out with that, isn't it?
Correct. And the best part about it is it works in conjunction with your locomotive decoders. So when you're running your train, it's just following the DCC signal that's sent through the rails. So when you set your brakes on your locomotive, you'll hear the brakes set on the sound car as well. So that sound is distributed through the train. And what's really cool and exciting, in my opinion anyway, is with the Tsunami 2, we replicate both the independent and the automatic brakes. Now, when you're using the automatic brakes, that's usually when it's tied into the full train. But when the locomotive sets the brakes, it only sets the air. The squealing actually comes from the cars. And so when you set that up and you set the braking rates to match because they're compatible, you'll hear the sound reduction or the air reduction in the locomotive. You'll hear the squeal coming out of the cars. And then when your train comes to a stop, all the sounds stop completely.
That's amazing.
So it's amazing, and it's easy using our intelligent consisting that, Ken, I know you've done a video on.
I did.
And so it's really easy to use, so you can consist a whole train of cars in a matter of seconds.
That's awesome. Hey, I've been down to microengineering a couple of times this week just because I wanted to get out of the basement. And I got to tell you what, it is so much fun to go down there and hang out with those guys. And I picked up one of their Inscale turnouts, and I actually made a display so that I could take it out and photograph it. And the whole point of me doing this exercise was I told them I wanted to show the detail that's actually in their turnout. I mean, you say it's N-scale and it's small. Don't worry about getting close on this, Daniel, because I'm going to shoot. I'm going to take my 60mm lens outside and shoot this turnout. And what I did was I sprayed the entire turnout with some Rust-Oleum camouflage brown paint. And then I took a fine brush, one of those 0000 fine brushes, and I took just a little bit of rail brown, and I painted all the metal hardware on this. So that would include the TraxX spikes and the plates that hold down the rail, just so I can illustrate the difference between the ties and all the hardware that goes together in making a turnout. And again, this is N-scale. You've already seen me do this in HO scale. I showed off one of their number 6 turnouts, probably 15 shows ago. And I showed and illustrated once again how I took their turnout in HO scale, which I think this one was code 70 track. And I did the same thing. I illustrated the hardware and painted it all out. I'm probably showing you the photos of that right now. But in N-scale, I mean, this is amazing. This is code 55, which is their best-selling N-scale rail because it looks so good with N-scale locomotives. So I wanted to share that. Check it out at the Microengineering website at microengineering.com. They are a great family-owned company. The last thing I think
right here in the United States.
Right here in
Missouri.
Fenton, Missouri, down here. They're only 15 minutes away from my house, and I love those guys to death. We've got the Amtrak trains on the table, and the reason for that was last week we talked about the brand new Siemens locomotive, the Charger that Bachmann Industries had made. And I showed you the prototypes and a lot of great shots of that last week on last week's show. That was fun. In the meantime, Bachmann has sent me the passenger cars that correlate with the Missouri Mule, is what I'm trying to represent here, which was a simple 3-car consist. And sometimes they would put a baggage car on the front head end of this. It's a simple train to model. And these are the Bachmann cars, the amp coaches, is that what they call those? And then the cars behind that is Walther's. This is Walther's variation. These actually showed up in the mail today. And these are plated, and they are the same type of car that the Bachmann car is. It's just a different manufacturer. And this is the earlier paint scheme. And so I've got the Athearn P42 on the front of this consist. Again, the Missouri Mule, representing about 1990 on this consist. And that consist there in front of it is 2020. So we've got 30 years of difference in modeling of these two different trains. But the plating on the cars is beautiful. The Bachmann cars are lit. And that's just some of the products that are available out there for us modelers to choose from. I loved it last week when we went to Mark Twain Hobbies and we were able to go through the store and literally videotape things right on the shelves because it made for some interesting talking points of some of the cool stuff that's out there. And that's the whole point of this show, is to take all the models that we enjoy and share them with you so that you guys can get different ideas on what's out there for you guys as modeling. Does that kind of summarize it?
Yeah, absolutely.
It really amazed me that today was the first time I actually saw that Siemens Charger run, and it's so smooth. It runs slow. It's very realistic. The LED lighting is incredible.
The strobe light.
And I would have never guessed that that was a Bachmann. It is wonderful.
It is absolutely amazing. It is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
They might run better than the real ones.
Probably. We keep a fleet in St. Louis for a reason. Oh, well.
I know. I don't know how to make this one any better than it is. We've got great people. Let's go around the table one time and see if we've got everything covered. Has everybody talked about what y'all want to say?
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing the Rock Island Blues with us,
Oh,
Campbell.
yeah.
Yeah.
That was beautiful.
Absolutely dynamite. Guys, thank you for hanging out with us. We got some folks sitting down here. Everybody's wearing masks out in the audience. And I've got George Bogatiuk out here in Durango. We got Daniel Coombs running camera for me. Thank you very much, Ray, for coming all the way from Erie, Pennsylvania.
Thank you.
Austin Allard, Campbell Rice, you guys are all the best. This is the best hobby in the world with the best people in it. We're simple model railroaders just trying to present a show. Simply, this is kind of like hobby shop jargon. Remember when you go to the hobby shop on Friday night after work and you just kind of hang out, or on Saturdays and just talk and listen and see what guys have got to say, what they're working on, what their products are? That's the whole purpose of what we're trying to present here, the What's Neat This Week in Model Railroading Show. So thank you very much, y'all, for watching. Next week, we are going to have the folks on from the NMRA, and I believe Jim Wiggins from Athearn Trains is going to be on with us, and other special guests. I never knew who they are until they show up in the basement down here. Plus, we'll probably have more people on Skype because I believe St. Louis is starting to shut down. Things are getting a little bit crazy out there in the real world.
Yeah.
But best hobby in the world with the best people in it. So guys, let's go run some trains.
All right.
Family's all here. Every single one of them. All my brothers and sisters and mom and dad. I love them all.
related.
All right, y'all, some of us give us a countdown. This is show number 136 for November 14th, and we are going to have some fun tonight. Let's pretend like we've done this before, guys. Stopwatch is starting, and
38 minutes.
go ahead and give us a countdown. Daniel, why didn't it start?
Because you don't know how to click the button.
Start? I do have to push the button. Go ahead, Austin. Tell me this one.
Alright, get professional now.
All right,
You brought it up this time.
where's George's face on the screen?
Yeah, get that up on there.
Here comes George.
He's hiding there in the bottom. There he
I
is.
know, I got you. All right, rock and roll. Daniel, give me a
You gotta walk
countdown.
into the
All
screen, George.
microphones are working.
Gotta get them up.
George, you need to walk in.
Get your hair back.
Do me my count.
George is.
Wave.
Well, here, all right.
Yeah, give it the.
George, why aren't you in the camera?
Now he's parting it.
Is it all right?
Oh,
Fabio.
Why didn't they get that on camera?
we do have it on camera.
Come on.
Yeah.
To go on
Please give me a countdown.
Well, George, why is he in full frame?
And he's worried
What?
about the
Why isn't George like in the camera?
Don't worry about George.
He's all right.
Okay.
He's gonna pop in.
I got
All
my two
right.
pairs of glasses on.
Who's popping where?
Daniel, everybody quiet, please.
Okay, you guys ready?
No,
No.
but just let's fake it. Like
Kumbaya. Oh. 3,
I'm crying.
2.5. All right, we ready? Okay. 3, 2, 1.
This is the What's Neat This Week, show number 136 for November 14th, 2020. I'm your host, Ken Patterson, the host of the What's Neat Show, that great video that we make at Model Railroad Hobbyist Magazine. And tonight, I've got some great people on, and we are going to have a great show. Although I got to tell you, last week's show was so good, I don't know how we're going to be able to top that one, guys. But with me tonight, I've got over here Ray Brown.
Hi.
Ray, welcome. Also sitting next to me on the other side of me over here. It's not Sugar Fire tonight, it's
Not.
Campbell
Fire hose rice.
Fire hose rice.
I see a bleep coming there.
If you sold
I'll say it.
to a great start tonight.
Hold on. I'll say it for him. More fun.
please give me a countdown.
You need to calm down
Campbell
first. Campbell Rice. Wow.
I'm ready.
This is
Turtle fan.
gonna be a great show.
Everybody's gonna think we're high.
This is awesome. I know. It's a shame we're not. What a fun.
Oh man, we're blowing daylight. Oh wait, daylight is already
Blowing
done.
daylight. It's been dark.
I
since
know.
5.
Look at his face. It's as red as an apple.
It's as red as the caboose.
Flip your hair, Ken.
Did your wife turn off the dryer?
This is the What's Neat This Week, show number 136 for November 14th, 2020. I'm your host, Ken Patterson, the host of the What's Neat show over at Model Railroad Hobbyist Magazine. And tonight we're going to have a lot of fun, I can already tell, because we're on about our third take of trying to start this one out. But with me tonight, I've got Raymond Brown.
Hi.
Welcome, Ray. Also, I've got Campbell Rice.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, Campbell. I've got Austin Allard sitting next to us.
Hey,
It's
good
been
to
a
be
while
here.
since we've seen you on the show, Austin. It's great to have you here tonight.
Thank you.
And in Skype land out there, we've got the wonderful George Bogatiuk. Hello, George. Welcome to the show, brother. I know, right? This is going to be fun tonight. It really is. All joking aside tonight, the weather's been absolutely nuts here. I mean, it was like 78 degrees here this week, and right when Austin Allard gave me a phone call, these great storms rolled in, and I'm showing you some footage of what you normally don't see around here. The trains were blowing on the other side of the river, and the dust on each side of the river was kicked up like something I've never seen. It's not supposed to go from 70 degrees to like 30 degrees in just a couple of hours, but that's pretty much what we had experienced here in St. Louis. And it was absolutely amazing. Are we going to start this over again?
You said the train.
We're blowing the trains across.
Look, we have to take this seriously. We got to get through this. We've spent 3 minutes and 50 seconds. Go ahead and stop both cameras and we'll start them over again. What's the matter? I don't get it. What did I
trains were blowing all
You meant the trees are blowing. You said the trains
No,
were
I
blowing.
did say the trains.
You
were-
did say.
I meant it.
Just take video like this.
Sit down.
I was blowing the trains around.
Why is it so funny?
I don't know if I can do this.
George, put your glasses back on.
Are we ever gonna get this started?
I don't think
That's what
so.
she said.
After 8 takes.
Just watch the port. I'm sorry. He said the trains were blowing around. It's like the cow in
Austin, he just almost turned him into Eileen.
Ouch. Ouch.
It's hot in here.
Just keep going.
Is it?
I'll
I'll make
Just
it.
upload this whole thing. Everybody needs a laugh.
Did you stop both cameras?
No.
Stop both cameras.